This conference will now be recorded.
We'll get started. So today we are going to see an important service. This is called governance related services, and which is a must. You need to know for all the services. All the services talk to these services, so you need to understand these services. So one such services we are going to talk about: CloudWatch, CloudTrail, and Cloud Config. Right? These are the three services which is used for monitoring your metrics and logs, auditing, and your performance. Right? So all those things that we will be seeing. These are very small services. Out of these three, CloudWatch is the key important service that you need to know. We will go through that, and then we will just get into the console and see what we can do. So CloudWatch provides metrics for every services in AWS. So if you would have noticed in our EC2 or when we did our auto scaling, what did we do? If the CPU utilization is greater than 80%, spin up 5 missions, right? So from where did all these metrics come from, right? So these metrics are pushed from your EC2 mission to the CloudWatch service, and CloudWatch service will trigger an alarm to initiate your auto scaling group, right? So that is how it all happens, and especially on all the event-based architectures, this CloudWatch metrics is predominantly used, and it becomes very important if you're writing an event-driven architecture. You have to use this CloudWatch service somewhere. Okay, so all the events, all the metrics, all the logs are by default captured in CloudWatch if you enable for those particular services. Suppose if you are in RDS, you are working on a RDS service or a Route 53 service, right? So there are some default metrics that will be captured by the AWS by default. But if you want to pass your own logs to CloudWatch metrics, then we have to do it a different way. We will see how to do that also, right? So what is a metric? A metric is nothing but a variable to monitor, just like our CPU utilization, memory, and all other things, right? They're all metrics. Metrics belongs to namespace. What do you mean by metrics belongs to namespace? Now, there are a lot of metrics being written from different services into CloudWatch. How does CloudWatch make sure that they are all segregated using the namespace? The namespace, for example, is EC2 is the namespace. The service name itself becomes the namespace. So you have all the EC2 metrics under namespace EC2, all the metrics of RDS under RDS, all the metrics of Route 53 under Route 53. So they are called namespaces. Inside the namespace, how they say EC2 is a general, it's a service name. Now what happens? I have 10 missions, right? So those 10 missions metrics will be categorized or segregated using something called dimensions. Dimensions is an attribute of a metric. For example, instance ID, it will be segregated by instance ID or your environment, right? So you can go and put some dimensions. You can have up to 10 dimensions per metric. So you can go and segregate that. So you have a namespace AWS. Inside AWS, if you AWS under EC2, EC2 will be your namespace. Under EC2, if you have 5 systems, those metrics can be segregated using our instance ID, because all 5 systems will have unique instance IDs. They are called dimensions. Okay, you can have up to 10 dimensions per metric. Metrics have timestamp, very important, right? We need to have a timestamp for metrics, so we can go back in the time and see what happens at that metrics, right? So it was always will carry a timestamp. Timestamp will be in like what to say, it's like DD, MMY, then milliseconds and time zones, and it will include everything. Okay, so when you print timestamps in other programmatic language like Java, .NET or Python or Ruby, then you will get around like 16 digits of numbers there, right? So that is actually translating to your timestamp. So you have an option to create dashboards for your CloudWatch metrics. Suppose you have so many EC2s running in different regions. So you can create a global dashboard and watch everything at one place. So you can do that also. You can create dashboards for your metrics. So EC2 instance metrics have metrics like every 5 minutes. By default, every 5 minutes it sends metrics to CloudWatch service. But if you want a detailed monitoring, right, you get the data for every 1 minute, but you have to pay some additional cost for that. Okay, so that means what happens? Suppose now the time is 7:15 and you are having an EC2 machine. only at 7:20 you will have a metrics collected in the CloudWatch service, that is between 7:15 and 7:20. So that means the metrics is not real time. It is 5 minutes before, right? 5 minutes before by default. If you enable detailed monitoring, it is almost near real time. I cannot say real time. It is near real time because it is 1 minute, right? It's 1 minute. So if you enable that, you will have to pay additional cost. Use detailed monitoring if you want to more prompt scale your ASG. So if you want to make sure that you wanted to do your ASG on a real time, then it is always better to go for detailed monitoring. Okay. For free tier, that account that we are having, it allows us to have up to 10 detailed monitoring metrics. So you can enable detailed monitoring up to 10 times for our free tier account. Very important. There are some default metrics that are included as part of the EC2, like CPU utilization, network in, network out, then what is the bytes written, bytes out, so many things, but you don't have memory, right? Memory is not a default metrics in CloudWatch. Please keep this in mind. When you go for your interview, they will trick you here only. Okay, they will ask you, okay, how will you monitor your EC2 memory? You will simply say go to CloudWatch and see the memory. You cannot do that. It is not pushed by default. You must go and write programs to push it as a custom metric. You have to push it as a custom metric. So for that, go through this web link where it will show you how to install a CloudWatch agent in your EC2, and then write your program. Maybe you are writing in shell script or PowerShell or whatever it is. Write it and then push that metrics into your CloudWatch using APIs, CloudWatch APIs. You push that metrics, and then that metrics will be available in the CloudWatch for you. Similarly, if you want to push any application logs also, right? Suppose I have my Apache access log under where log Apache access.log, right? If you want to push that log also, you have to do the same thing just we are doing for memory. They are all called custom metric. Okay, so please be very, very cautious. This is the most place where the interview people, they fail, right? They will ask you, okay, they will ask you what is CloudWatch, right? Then you will say this is a monitoring logging solution that is okay. What are the things that you can monitor? Then you will say CPU utilization, networking, network byte. They will ask you what about memory? You will say, yeah, memory also can be monitored from CloudWatch. That is not possible. The memory is not pushed by default. It is a custom metric. So you need to say that it is a custom metric that will not be pushed by default. So we have to install the CloudWatch agent on the server, and then we need to write code to push the memory related information into the CloudWatch. Then we will have a custom metric. Okay, so please be careful. This is where people will kind of often go wrong while giving their interviews, especially for CloudWatch, right? So CloudWatch custom metrics, you can define and send your own custom metrics to CloudWatch. That's what we talked about. And you can also use attributes to segment your metrics like instance ID, environment name. So example, right? So you can use those, any of the attributes that you can dimensions, and you can segment your metrics. Metric resolution. There are two types of resolution in metrics. One is standard 1 minute, 60 up to 60 seconds you can send it. Or if you want high resolution, it will be enabled for 1 second, but you have to pay for higher cost. Again, whether you're going to send the storage API parameter resolution API parameter, you have standard high resolution. If you are passing standard, then it will send the metric resolution like 60 seconds. Otherwise, it is, if you set it as high resolution, then it will be 1 second. You have to pay additional cost. So in your programming for this API, you need to pass either standard or high resolution. Very important, when you are writing the program to push your custom metric, you need to call this API called put metric data. Put metric data should be called, otherwise you will not be able to write the log metrics into the CloudWatch. In case of any throttles, right, if there is anything slow down, there is a feature called exponential back off. Just go and tick that. What it will do, the throttle will be very slow. It will not happen much. Okay. So out of these three services, CloudWatch is very important. Okay. That's why we are going deep into this service. As we talked about, we have CloudWatch dashboards. There are gateways you can set up your dashboards for quick access to your key metrics. So you may have multiple metrics you cannot monitor. You cannot go inside each and every metrics and see. So you create a dashboard. The dashboards are global. very important. The dashboards are global. Dashboards can include graph from different regions. Suppose you are having EC2, one in US East one, another in Australia. So you can create graph dashboards and include graphs, and you can see everything in one place because it's a global dashboard. You can change the time zone and time range of your dashboard, right? So you can change that to local time or UTC time, and also you can have refresh for 1 minute, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, custom, and all those things, right? I'll show you that. You can set up automatic refresh like this, right? 10 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 15 minutes, and all those things. Very important. This is one of the dashboard is one of the costliest thing among other things in AWS. So 3 dashboards up to 50 metrics is for free, right? For free tier, we will get 3 dashboards up to 50 metrics for free. After that, it's a $3 per dashboard per month afterwards. It's very, very costly. Okay. So you need to be very careful in using this feature. If you are in free tier, first 3 dashboards are free. Then beyond that, then you have to pay $3 per dashboard. That whether the dashboard includes only one EC2 or 1000 EC2 doesn't matter, but you have to pay. If you create a dashboard, you have to pay $3 per month. Okay, so you need to make a wise decision how to, for what you need to create a dashboard and why you need. So if you want to check more on pricing, you can go to this, because this prices keep, it's a variable, it keeps on changing. But don't worry, either in the exam or in the interview, nobody will ask you about the price, because that's a variable, right? Nobody can know. Even the AWS cannot know what price will be for this tomorrow, right? It is today, it is $3. Tomorrow it can be $4 or $2. We don't, right? So that's why they don't ask you in the interview what is the price for the dashboard. Okay. Any questions, guys, so far? Okay, let's move. Then we have, that is all metrics. We talked about metrics. Now it is logs, right? Application can also send logs to CloudWatch using your SDK, software development kit. So you can have your own SDK. Like if you're using Python, then we will see how to use Boto 3. Boto 3 is the SDK, software development kit for Python, AWS SDK for Python. So you can use that to send logs to your CloudWatch. CloudWatch can collect logs from different services, as we saw, ECS, Lambda, VPC flow logs, right? We saw that, right? When we did the VPC flow log, we went and saw that some of the IPs were trying to access our EC2 machine from CloudWatch logs only, right? API gateway, CloudTrail, and then CloudWatch log agents, everything you can pass the Cloud 53, DNS queries, everything will get logged into CloudWatch logs. CloudWatch logs, you have an option to push CloudWatch logs into either S3. You can export to S3 for archival, or you can stream into Elasticsearch cluster for further analytics. If you're doing any analytics, you can pass it to some other clusters like this, like Elasticsearch and other services, and you can pass it to them, and they will do some analytics based on your logs. Log storage architecture. So there are two things in the log storage. First, we need to create a log group. It's an arbitrary name, usually representing an application. So we go and create a log group, and inside the log group, a log stream will be created. Instance within application log files containers, you will have the log streams will be created. The logs will be created as streams. So each and every time new logs are coming in, a new stream will be created. You can define log expiration policy for your log groups. You have never expire, 30 days, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, right? So if you say never expire, this logs will be there in CloudWatch forever. Okay. So you have to make sure, because the CloudWatch logs indirectly they will store it in S3, so where you may end up paying some more money. So when you are testing, don't worry about the expiration policy, because after we are done with the our demo, we will go and delete it. But in the real time, you have to be very careful how you want your logs to be retained, right? Use the AWS CLI, that is command line interface. You can tail your CloudWatch logs. Tail the logs means to see the logs on the real time. You want to troubleshoot some issue, you can go and do that. Okay. To send logs to CloudWatch, make sure you have the correct IAM permission, right? From where you are sending your log files to CloudWatch, make sure that service has access to CloudWatch. So you have to set up the IAM permission. Without the permission, it will not work. So you have to create a role and set up a permission, and then you can. You can encrypt the log files using KMS at the group level. So you can encrypt the group level. So all the data inside that group log streams, everything will be encrypted using our KMS key. Very important. So when we talked about metrics, logs, the third one is alarms. So these are all the key important topics in CloudWatch. Alarms are very, very important. Alarms are used to trigger notification for any metric. So just like we had auto scaling, right? So some CPU utilization spikes up, it will send an event there. That event will trigger something from there, right? It will trigger the ASG to spin up new machine. That is why it happens automatically. So for all the event-driven architectures, we will be using this CloudWatch alarm. Alarms can go into auto scaling, easy to action, SNS. We will see what is SNS, simple notification service, all other things, right? We can see, we can trigger various options like sampling. You can have sampling, percentage or maximum amount, minimum amount, right? Like say for example, I say my CPU utilization, you want to be greater than 80%, or I can say if my application load balancer connection is greater than 100, that is maximum number or minimum number, right? So you can do all the various options and trigger your notification or trigger your alarms. There are three states in alarms. One is okay, insufficient, and alarm. Okay. So first, when you create an alarm, right, it goes into insufficient data status. Okay. So it will go to this state because it is waiting for the data. So first time, as I told you, if you are enabling standard metrics, you may need to wait for 5 minutes, right? So it has to get the data. Then during that time, it will be in insufficient data state. So don't worry, wait for some time. Then it will go either into OK or alarm. Once it gets the data, then it will go to the OK state. If it matches, it is well below the threshold that you defined, it will go to the OK state. And then suppose if it breaches the threshold, like say for example, CPU utilization greater than 50%, under 50% it will be in OK state. After above 50%, it will go to the alarm state. So you have option to trigger notification or trigger some other process in any of these states. It's up to you. It's any of the states, but normally people do whenever there is an alarm, whenever there is a breach in the threshold, then you send notification, right? So this is what happens in this one. So when we started this class, we set up a billing alarm for $2. So if your billing exceeds $2, you will get a notification when it is in the alarm state. And if it is below $2, it will be in the OK state. And first time when you set up the alarm, it will be in insufficient data stage. Okay. So period. So length period is nothing but the length of the time in seconds to evaluate your metrics. Right? You say, okay, you evaluate my metrics in this particular time. High resolution custom metrics, you can only choose between 10 seconds or 30 seconds. How many seconds it needs to evaluate the metrics, right? You have only two options, 10 or 30 seconds. Okay, now let's get into the console and just see what we talked about, right? So please make sure you guys go through the material recording and keep working hands-on. Otherwise, it will become very difficult. Okay. So let's get into CloudWatch. Let's talk about dashboard later. Let's talk about alarms first, right? Go to all alarms. I have a billing alarm. Okay. Let's go see the state. It says okay. Let's get into this alarm. Let's see what this alarm is trying to do. So this is what I have set up for my bill, right? So my bill says, when now this is my threshold, the $2 is my threshold, $2 is my threshold. Let's go and do an edit and I'll show you. Right? See here what happened. Namespace is AWS:billing. Billing is the namespace. In that we have a metric name called estimated charges. Currency will be in US dollars. Statistics. These are different statistics like maximum, minimum, average, sample. Right? I showed a percentile, IQM. These are different metrics that you have. Right? So I'm taking maximum. When it comes maximum, period of 6 hours, period of 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. So every 6 hours it will check if it is maximum of $2, right? Maximum of $2. Then until then, if it is beyond $2, please send me a email. So what is having static value or an anomaly detection value? Static value means is static, 2 is static, right? And you have estimated charge whether you wanted to get the notification when it is greater than $2, less than, greater than or equal to $2, lower than some threshold, lower or equal to lower, right? So 4 different combinations you have. So normally we go for greater than or equal to, right? And greater than $2, greater than $2, then what you do, wait for the data points. You get data point one time. If you get the data saying it is $2.1, you set the alarm. So that is your, this is where you set. And here, when will the alarm get triggered? I told you 3 states, right? In alarm, the metric or expression is outside of the defined threshold. That means it's under your threshold. That is above the threshold. Okay means the metric is or expression is within the defined threshold. Insufficient data, the alarm has just started, or not enough data is available to send. These are the 3 states that we talked about. So normally people will try to trigger anything in the alarm state, not in the OK state. Right? OK state is normally, it is behaving normally, right? There is no issue. Then what action you want to take? I'm going to send the email to using a simple notification service. So I've created a topic for that, and I have added the I have to add an endpoint here. Let me I should have added my endpoint here. I did not add it, but you can go and add your email address here. Okay, send notification to your email address. I actually removed everything there. Yesterday I was doing something and cleaned up. Then you have auto scaling action also. You can perform auto scaling action, right? You can do that also, and you can also do an EC2 action per instance based on one single instance. If it is going down, what you want to do, you can trigger an alarm, and there is something called system manager. This is for system admins. You can go and do that also, right? And go and do a next, then give a name for the alarm, and go to next and review, and go and say okay. Then your billing alarm will be here. So the billing alarm is in, actually it's in OK state, and whenever it crosses $2, it will actually go. I will get an email, okay, saying this your billing has been going beyond $2. Okay, this is your alarm. Okay, very important, guys. So you need to keep in mind. It's very important. So we talked about logs. To create logs, we need to create log groups. I don't have any log group now. We will try to create some log group, and once we get the something there, I'll come back and show you this, guys. So inside the log group, log stream will be created. All the logs that you push from there will come in here, right? Metrics is different, logs are different. Keep in mind, okay? Metrics are different, logs are different. So even your custom metrics also will get into your custom metrics will get into the metrics, and all your logs will be here. Then you can also enable some log insights, right? So there are some services which you can enable log insights. So based upon the log, it will provide your insights for you, and you can run your query using those logs groups. You can run the query and get some more details on all those things. And you can also export the result to your table, or you can download the results of this particular log insights into your CSV file and all those things, right? And as I told you, you have a different way that you can see the last 5 minutes, 30 minutes, all those things. And you can also select custom, right? Last 60 minutes, 1 year, 2 year, hours, minutes, and all those things. Or you want to take a relative, or absolutely, right? I want this date from here to here. So all those things. And you have 2 time zone, as I told you. One is local time zone, or UTC. UTC is universal time coordinate, right? So now it is 7:41. Just go to Google and find out the UTC time now for us, right? UTC time now. It is actually 2:11 a.m. That means we are almost like 6 hours behind that, right? 6 hours beyond behind us. UTC time is behind us, right? So like this, you can go and check, and based on this, you can go and see the time what it is. Suppose if you are creating any backup or all those things, everything needs to be created in UTC, the schedules. So you have to check the UTC time as per your time. Suppose if you want to do at the backup at night 10 o'clock, you need to know the UTC time and set up the time accordingly. Okay, so all the time zones in AWS for all the services is either UTC or local time zone. Local time zone means my local time zone, whatever time zone currently my system is set, right? That's what it will do. Very important. Next one, logs, alarms, then metrics, right? So let's go to metrics. So these are all the metrics. As I told you, these are all the namespaces, right? EC2 is a namespace. EC2 is a namespace. EBS is a namespace. DynamoDB is a namespace. Roles Anywhere is a namespace. Route 53 is a namespace, right? Like that for all the services that I have used, wherever I have enabled the metrics, you will see all these things here. Okay. Even billing is also a metrics. Okay. Application ELB. So you have application ELB. Inside that you have metrics, and then if you go to per ELB AZ metrics, then you go here, then you will see something. These are all called this particular ID, right? Whatever is called, that is called dimension. That is the attribute. So this is my ALB. These are all dimensions. Okay, so you can see, and these are all the metrics names. One is HTTP code target, request count. These are all metric names. Okay, so let's go back to EC2. It will be easy for you to understand there. Go to EC2. EC2 is the namespace. Per instance metrics, I have many instances. These are all dimensions. These are all dimensions, and these are all the metrics name. Let me just here see. These are all the metrics name. Network packets in, network packets out, CPU utilization, network in, network out, disk read bytes, disk write bytes, disk read offs, right? Disk write offs, CPU credit usage, CPU credit balance, CPU surplus credit balance, CPU surplus credit charge, metadata no token, and status check failed system, status check failed instance, and then status check failed. Then disk read writes, right? It continues, right? It has some 10 default metrics. So these are all default metrics. They're all default metrics for this particular EC2 mission, right? So none of the missions are there now, but you can go and see the old metrics here. So these are all metrics. So this is what we told about the metrics. You can query your metrics. You can query your metrics based on the namespace, and you can also get a graph of your metrics if you have any metrics. And you have some options to go and plot some line graphs, stacked area, numbers, gauge, bar graph, pie chart, and all those things. You can say what will be your x-axis, y-axis, and you can get all those details. And you can also get the source dashboard or image API view. You can go and see these are all the things that we have. When you want to write an API, go to copy this and put this JSON there. Right? So this is how your metrics actually works. When you go to Explorer, you can select the metrics and you can see some charts here also. And you also can stream your metrics into, you can create a stream of metrics and push it to some other systems also. You can do that also. The streaming of metrics is real time, right? As the metrics come, you will do. These are some of the monitoring dashboards, metrics update, total metrics and errors. You can see all your updates here. So these are all called your metrics. Okay, so the key important topic in CloudWatch is metrics, logs, alarms, and dashboards, right? As I told you, dashboards, you can create dashboards. You can create a dashboard. So let's give a dashboard name as test. Create a dashboard. It will ask you what type of graph you need, the widget you need, right? Okay, I want the widget to be like pie chart, right? For example, and I want whether you want it as for the logs or for the metrics. I want for metrics. Now you come back here. Now go and select your metrics, right? For instance, metrics. I don't know what is there, what is not there, but we just simply going to create this widget. Okay, nothing, system is nothing there. So status check failed system, that is the metrics, and we are here. So this will show the dashboard, and once you have this, you can save the dashboard. You can save, you can rename, you can share the dashboard to other account, you can delete it, you can replay your dashboard, you can edit the source, and you can change the settings like default time range, bulk update, and then you can allow disallow. When we talk about lambdas, we will see about this. Live data override on means as soon as the data comes, it will override your value. Okay, period override, whether you want to override for 1 second, 15 seconds, 5 seconds, refresh, and all those things, right? You can link any other charts, and you want it whether the light mode or dark mode. Dark mode will show you like this, right? This is just a personalization, that's all. Light mode will show you like this. Okay, So this is what we have with our dashboards. So if you have some data, you can create a dashboards and you can see everything in one place. Okay. This is on the dashboard. Apart from this CloudWatch, that these are the things that we saw like dashboards, alarms, logs, and metrics. Very important, we have something called events. Okay, for an event-driven architecture, everything happens from here. Everything happens from here. Okay, from CloudWatch. So any events that happens in AWS, you can capture here and you can write rules to trigger something. Okay, so let's go and see what is there. Let's go to Amazon Event Bridge. Let's go create a rule and say this is my rule. Can be any name, right? My rule. Event bus. There is an event bus. Whether you want to create default is created. If you want, you can create an event bus for you, and you can go and select that also. So rule with an event pattern, whether you want the rule to be created with an event pattern or a schedule. You can also say every 1 hour you execute this rule, or you can say only when this event happens you do this. So what we are going to do, we are going to say rule with an event pattern. Okay, do next. And here, whether it is an AWS event or Event Bridge partner events or other events, all the events that you want to, all the events that is sent to your account, right? So we want AWS events or Event Bridge partner events. Some of the sample events in AWS, we have sample events, Event Bridge partner event, enter my own event, right? When you say this one, I wanted to go here for EC2. Okay, now if my EC2 has been terminated successfully, this will be the event that I will get. It's a sample event. We can copy to do it in your put it in your program and check on this, right? So what it will do, source will be auto scaling, and if you come down, you will have a event and all those event details and all the account details, and you will have details, status code in progress, and all those things, right? So this is just a sample event. So what we are going to do, event sources AWS services, not the Event Bridge partners. You have Event Bridge partners, I'll show you that also. Like in the AWS service, we have EC2. Okay, under EC2, what is the type of event that you want? I want the AWS instance state change notification. That means whenever somebody tries to delete or stop or start or the state change, right, from status to pending to running, all those things, right? In that, do you have for any state or specific state? These are all the states that we have, right? Whenever somebody terminated my system, okay, see here, you keep seeing here, you get this. Somebody terminate my system, please, for any instance or specific ID, you can go and select for specific state and specific ID. Suppose you have only one machine you want to monitor out of 10, select that instance ID, or for any instance for that matter, right? So go and do this and then go on next. Now target types, select the Event Bridge, Event Bus, Event Bridge API destination. This is just a AWS service, so we don't have to select any target type here, and it is going to be EC2. Stop instances or something, right? You can put the instance there and do a next, and any additional you want to add, then add. And when you go and create this rule, what will happen? Whenever somebody does something, it will trigger an event from here. So you can go and trigger it even from here, and you can start doing whatever you want to do. Okay? So you can go and select instead of this target, you can go and say, I want my SNS topic, I want to send a notification. If you have any notification, it will show you here, and it will send a target notification to you. This is one way of creating your record. Okay, this is for your event pattern. Now, if you go to the Event Bridge partner events, right? See, these are all some partner event. Whenever charge is succeeded, come down here. If you see and select Event Bridge partner, you have to select a provider, like say Datadog, right? For example, you have a Datadog which is monitoring your infrastructure. You can use that third-party tool also to enable your logs, right? And then event pattern, all events from datadog.com. Then you go and do the something, right? So these are the couple of things that you can do from here. Now, instead of pattern, you can go and do a schedule. When you do a schedule, right, you have to say here fine-grained schedule or a schedule that runs every 10 minutes, like 12 hours, 13 hours, all these things. Or you can go and say how much minutes, hours, day of the month, like just your cron job, right? You can go and say, and you can write your trigger there. Once you write your trigger, then what will happen at that point of time? It will start running your, it will invoke this, this event will keep running at that particular time on schedule and start doing the actions that you have defined. So it's specifically highly useful when you are using your event driven architectures. Right now, all the automations are done using event driven architectures only. Okay, so please keep in mind. Go back to your CloudWatch. So this is your CloudWatch. Any questions that you guys have? So very important, you need to know alarms, logs, metrics, and events. What about this X-ray traces and application monitoring? X-ray traces are nothing but tracing your log. This is some artificial intelligence machine learning services that offered by AWS to go and look at more into your logs and give some more insights, right? That's where your service map and traces come in, and you can monitor your application using service lens. Service lens is also another AI related stuff, and you can go and see synthesis canaries, evidently run. They are all different services, and these are all the insights AI ML provided insights. So you can go enable these insights. If you remember when we talked about RDS, we have performance insights. If you would have enabled that, that will come here. That will come here, and you can see those insights that are provided. Except for example, if it is a container insight, it will give you some kind of insights here. If we already had it, we did not, and if we don't have anything, but we will show all the graphs and everything. It will give you insights like, okay, based on this logs, I can say, okay, your system is getting utilized 90% at 5 o'clock, right? It will give some insights, and based on that insights, you can take some decisions, both business and technical decisions, right? So this is what your CloudWatch is. Any questions here, guys? Before we move to the next service. Whenever you create your EC2 machine, let me show you. Quickly, we will launch one EC2 machine. You're not going to log into this, so proceed without key pair and go and launch. See, when you have this monitoring tab, right? These are all the metrics that actually comes from CloudWatch. Okay. These are all the metrics that comes from CloudWatch. So CloudWatch has those metrics for this instance ID. See here, this I, you can go to the CloudWatch back and you can go and see that there. Go to the metrics, all metrics, and go to EC2 and per instance metrics and try to get this ID here. It's 1672. Okay, 1672. It will take some, because we did not enable the detailed monitoring. So you have to wait. Once you wait, you will get your log here. Okay, I mean metrics here, and you can choose those metrics. And these metrics are coming from your this one. Okay, and you can also manage detailed monitoring. You can enable detailed monitoring, as I told you. If it's a detailed monitoring, it's a 1 minute period of instance, and additional charges will apply for the detailed monitoring. So you need to go back to the pricing and check what is actually happening, right? Okay. Okay, fine. So this is what, when you create your system, you will get your log file there. Let's move to the other service called CloudTrail. So CloudWatch is specifically for metrics and logs. CloudTrail is for audit trail, right? Audit trail. What happened in my system? Right? CloudTrail. So CloudTrail allows for auditing, security monitoring, and troubleshooting. Three main types of events there are: management events, data events, and insights. There are three types of events. Trails are nothing but collections of instances of these events. Their trails are nothing but events. Deliver your events to, you can deliver your CloudTrail events to either CloudWatch or S3 for further analysis, but you cannot do directly anything there. Now they have introduced a new thing called CloudTrail Lake. So you can keep the events within the CloudWatch service itself. And you get a 90 days worth of management events available for free. Okay, this is a CloudTrail. Using CloudTrail, what you can do, you can identify source IPs of request, whether login moves MFA enabled or not, and all the actions that we do either through console or programmatic or anything in your AWS environment, everything gets logged in the CloudTrail service. Okay, it analyzes the top talkers by IP, who did most, right, by IP. You can alarm on access denied errors, and then you can also gather more verbose into the error logs. Whenever an API call fails, you can get more details. You can group all events from multiple accounts for auditing and storage. So you can do all those things. Specifically used for governance, right? So CloudTrail pricing, management events, $2 per 100K events. Data events means 10 cents per 100K. Insights means it's 35 cents per 100K. So you can go to these places and check your pricing there. Okay. It's very simple. It's nothing in that, okay, because we will not be using this service quite often. Now, if you go back, you can say track user activity and API usage, right? That is the caption for this service. So it's a service to capture your audit track. Let's go and say event history. So all the things I have been doing now so far, right? Run instances, I have started the query, I created some security group. Everything is logged here with the date. With the date. Who did this? This is the username. What is the source? What is the source? See, we went to push dashboard. We went to log. I logged into console this morning. Okay, all these things are here, right? Everything, whatever I have done, everything is here. I have terminated some instance yesterday. Yesterday I did something in Lambda, right? Everything will get logged here. Okay. Suppose I ran my EC2. I want to know what is happening. Get inside and go and see the reference, resources reference. This is the full event that has been recorded in your CloudTrail. So when you go to this one, you can see the entire history, what has been done for this, right? See here, user identity, who is the user, who is the access key of myself, who is the account ID, who is the user ID, what is my account ID, what is my access key, and what is the username, and what did I do, right? Whether I am MFA authenticated or not. No, I'm not MFA authenticated, right? These are all related to your session. Then what is the event? This is the event type. Event source came from EC2. And what did I do? I try to start the instance. I try to create an instance. That's called run instances. In which region? In this region. Source IP address, AWS internal, because I did it from management console. I did not do it from my local or from outside. User agent, AWS internal. Which browser? If you're doing from outside, which browser? Request parameter, items, right? What AMI ID you use? How many servers I brought up, right? What is the instance type? What is the block mapping, right? Everything completely will be here. So what will happen? You cannot escape. Anywhere, whether you do it through programmatic or through this one, everything will be recorded here. So if something happens or some of your resources somebody has deleted, before asking somebody, you can come here and check who did what, and then you can go into that. This is a complete event history of one event. This is not for all events. This is for only one event, right? This is only for one event. Event category, it is a management event. Session credential from console, it's asking, it's just trying to verify whether you have logged in from console. Yes, it is done from console. Okay, what was the event type? It was an API call, right? So this is the trial for one particular event. Like this, it is trying to capture the event for all the things that has happened throughout here, right? And 90 days of work, it is free for you. After that, you need to go and pay money. You can download events as a CSV for your local, and you can do, or you can, there's a service called Athena. So you can pass this to Athena and create a table there and run as a SQL query, and you can do that. So that is also you can do that. Now, again, you can customize here. You want only for last 30 minutes. You will see only here last 30 minutes. See here only on 28, right? If you see it for 1 hour, that will be only for today. Now, if I say I wanted to clear everything, so by default it will come. So you can see 27, 26, and everything. See here, there are so many pages here, right? So many pages. It goes pages and pages, and who has done this, right? There may be something might be called internal also. See, your stsamazon.com has been not done by me. Internally, it has done something, right? By some other system or some other resource, right? So all those things will be captured here. They are called event history. You cannot delete this. Nobody can delete these events. Okay, and you can also build an insight. You can create your own trial. Suppose I want to monitor only security group, right? You can go to create your trial and you can monitor for that, whether it is a management event or whatever event. You can create you create it in new S3 bucket. It will throw everything to the S3 bucket, and you can go and say what you wanted to go and monitor, and go and say you can monitor. And if you enable your CloudWatch logs, all this whatever you are monitoring will get into a log file there also, right? So you can do that, and you can go ahead and create your trial. So once you create a trial, then it will monitor only for that particular resource. Okay, that you can create a trial. Nothing is free here. Okay, nothing is free here. This is what I told you, Lake. So Lake is a new feature that has been released. So instead of sending the logs to the CloudWatch and for further analysis, you can have your own event data source. You can run your SQL queries, and you can do your all your details here, right? So you can create your own data source here, and you can keep it within cloud trial service itself. And this will show the trials that you had created, right? The trials that you had created. We did not create anything. So you can create your trial and you can monitor your trial here, right? Then apart from that, nothing is there in this. It's just a auditing service. So it will just audit the entire things that has happened in your console. It's not only in console. It can be through command and interface or through your programmatic way. However you touch your environment, everything will get logged here, or everything will get recorded here. Okay. So the first point for you to go and check what happened, right? Come here and please check. Okay, this is what will happen. And if you would have created some trial, you will get create trial also as one of the event. Okay, so this is what happens in your cloud. It's very, very small service. You don't have to worry about anything, but you will not even get any type of question in interview. It's very, very rare, but if in case you get, this is the detail. Okay, let's move to cloud config. Cloud config provides a detailed view of configuration of AWS resources in your AWS account. This includes how the resources are related to one another, how they are configured in the past, so that you can see how configurations and relationship change over time. If there are any changes to the security group, if there are any changes to any of the ALB configuration, everything will be captured on this, right? It's a configuration monitoring tool. And AWS resource is an entity you can work with in AWS, such as EC2 or EBS, or so. All the entities will be captured here. It helps with auditing and recording compliance of your AWS resources. So that is your audit trial. Audit, this is your compliance. Your company might have some compliance saying your security group should not allow 0.0.0 open access to all the IPs, right? So that is the compliance. So it can go and check the compliance. It helps record configurations and changes over time. Possibility of storing the configuration data into S3. So you can store this data into S3 and later analyzed by a query service called Athena. What are the things that it is trying to solve? Is there any unrestricted SSH access to my security group? Do my buckets have any public access, right? How has my ALB configuration changed over time? All those things you can go and monitor here. It will find out the changes. Okay, you can receive alerts like mail alerts for any changes. It's a regional service, so it's per region. So once you create a config rule in Northern Virginia, you cannot see the same rule in Mumbai. It can aggregate across regions and upon, but you can aggregate all the data and you can send it. AWS config rules very important. AWS config rule does not prevent actions from happening. It will only record the events, but it will not stop it to happen, right? So please be very careful. There is no free tier for this. Okay, you have $2 per active rule per region per month, right? That's on the AWS config. With AWS config, you can evaluate your AWS resource configuration for desired setting, get a snapshot of current configuration of the supported resources that are associated with your account. You can retrieve configuration of one or more resources. You can retrieve historical configurations. You can retrieve a notification receive a notification whenever a resource is created, modified, or deleted. You can see some relationship between different this one. Okay, before we see the comparison, let's quickly go here and see if we have. If you search for AWS config, it's just a config service directly, right? So track resource inventory and changes. That is the caption for this. Let's go and see what we can do there. Okay, this is the dashboard. So as I told you, this configuration actually checks all your compliant and whether your resources are compliant and non-compliant, right? So you can go see the dashboard, and you can see if you have anything not in compliance, it will show here, but it will not prevent from anything, but it will only just show you that it is compliant or non-compliant. What is this conformance pack? Conformance pack is nothing but your security compliance that is defined in your system, in your organization. So you can go and deploy. There are some sample events like this, right? Say for example, let's say operational best practice for AWS backup, right? When you select this template, there will be some kind of logic written inside saying to take a backup, this is the correct way to take a backup. When you are setting up the backup, if you don't set up in this way, it will say that this one is not compliance to this your compliance package that is deployed. So you can go here and you can give a name of your this one. You can add some parameters, and then you can say next. And this one, and you can go and deploy a confirmation pack. Now there are a lot of templates like this, so you can go and check these templates based on their compliance, right? You can put some guardrails, or you may have anything, right? Let us take something. See, best practices for asset management, best practice for S3. That means what? Your bucket cannot be public. There should be some bucket policy set up. All those things it will check, right? So just to check what is there, right? Let's go to Google and say AWS compliance package templates. See, confirmation pack sample templates. This is what is there. So the one that we saw, let's open for S3 and see exactly what is there. Okay, it is available in your GitHub. So this is the compliance package. What it's trying to do? S3 account level public access block period parameters, say default equal to true. Then let's take something here, right? Block public ACL, right? Block public policy. It will block a public policy and it will do all these things. So these are some rules that are written in YAML files, which users to say whether this one is compliance or not, in compliance or not, right? So like that you can go and see this for each and every compliance. You can go back and check on your different see for this operational backup. That's what we saw. Go back to the GitHub. You will see the backup, how to take the backup, right? If it is Aurora, how you should take. If it is the minimum frequency checking you have to have, and all those things, right? So these are all different confirmation packs. So the security folks are aware of this, but if you want to take a look, this is where you need to take a look, right? And you select the template. This is what is going to check. It's going to check against these particular values. right? It can be anything, right? Like if you see a lot of things, right? Security best practices for all these things, right? So CloudFront, CloudTrail, right? Best practices for this. And see if it is HIPAA compliant, ISO compliant, right? For ISO compliant, if you have anything that's ISO, we don't have ISO compliant. You have HIPAA, and HIPAA is one of the security compliance service for your health sector in US, right? And you have GDPR for your Europe. So like that you have a lot of things. You can go to create your confirmation packs, or if you already have a template, you can create your own template and you can upload it from your bucket, or you can upload it from your local file. Just like I showed you, right? You can create your own confirmation package and you can deploy that. So your rules will get evaluated against these complaints. So let's go and see what are the rules that we have. So let's try to write a rule and see. It will get you charged. If you want, you can try. It's up to you. So it's add a managed rule or create your own custom lambda, or you want to create your own card. Let's use a managed rule so that it is already available. There are so many rules available. Let's go and check for security group, right? Security group, right? Security group, these are all the security group we have, whether it is attached to ENI or you have restricted SSH. Checks whether security group that are in use disallow unrestricted incoming SSH traffic. I already have a security group which allows 0.0.0. So when I select this rule, it will start monitoring my system. It will start monitoring my system and it will we've added this rule. Okay, once this rule is there, just give it a minute and we can select this and we can go and say re-evaluate this rule. So what it will do, it will go and check. It will go and check what is happening, and then in the dashboard, if it finds a security group which is having 0.0.0, it will say that you have a how many non-compliant issues, right? It will take some time. Just hold on. We will come back and see this, right? And these are all the resources inventory that you have for all the resources. And as I told you, you can aggregate all the rules and all the confirmation packs in one place, right? It's a very small service. I as an interviewer never asked this question on AWS config or trial. At least trial we would have asked, because how did you find out that something happened to your resource? But AWS config, I myself don't remember I've asked this question in any of the interview, or I have been asked, or in the exam. I think there are a few questions on AWS config also, right? What the confirmation pack is and what it will do. So this is what your AWS config is. Okay, so just go to the dashboard. See here, we already started seeing there are two non-compliant resources. Go to the rules. See, two non-compliant resources. Click on this rule. You want to know exactly what is there. These are the two security groups which is allowing 0.0.0.0 unrestricted access. So this is how it will do. So what you need to do when this happens, right? You can send out an email, or you can go remediate. You will write some program to remediate this, right? So this is what it keeps on checking for. Any configuration changes or any conformance or conformance or compliance related stuff, you can take a look at here. Okay, fine. Let's go delete this result and then delete the this one. Any questions, guys? I'm just cleaning up this.
No, sir.
Okay, let's go on. So just a small comparison, right? Just before you step out for your interview, just take a look at this comparison. CloudWatch is basically log monitoring, log aggregation analysis, and all the events and alerting will happen here. It will monitor your performance, like using metrics and all those things. CloudTrail records all your API calls within your account by everyone. You can define trials for specific resources, and it's a global service. Config records configuration changes, evaluates the resources against compliance rules and get timeline of changes and compliance, right? So these are all the, just keep in mind before you step for your interview. Okay, this is what we had for this service, and we are going to see one more service in next 15 minutes. We will close that also. So we are going to talk about a service. It's not a service actually. We are going to see how we can interact with AWS using command line interfaces, right? Command line interfaces. So you can, the developers can do a task using your console or using your programmatic way, using your SDKs, software development kit, or you can use command line interfaces. Command line interfaces are very useful when you are doing some automations like Python script or some other script. You can use your Python shell script and all those things. You can use your command line interface to do a lot of automations. Okay. So there are several ways that we can do this. We can use your CLI. When I say CLI, it is command line interface. We can set up our CLI on our local computer or on EC2, or SDK can be set up on your local or EC2, and we can also use the instance metadata. We will see all these, right? To set up a command line interface, go to this site, download the CLI, and do an install. Okay, and let's go to this documentation, and this is the golden Bible for us to check. This is our documentation for command line interface for all the services that we have in AWS. Using command line itself, we can create everything. Okay, we will see how to do that. And Python, this is the SDK. So one is command line, one is SDK. I've chosen Boto 3 because that is for Python. Similarly, you can have SDK for Java, for .NET, for Ruby, for Go. Right? So this is this one. AWS SDK for Python is Boto 3. Okay. So once you download and install this, you need to configure your CLI. How do we configure? Go to your command prompt after you install. I already have installed it, so I cannot reinstall it. I'll show you how to configure. Just say AWS configure. So you remember when we downloaded the when we created the IAM user, we downloaded an Excel sheet which had the access key ID and secret key ID, right? So that is what you need to use here. The access key ID, secret key ID, you need to enter here, and the default region and the default output. If you do this, it will get configured. What will happen when you do this? It will create a credential file for you within your local folder, so that you can, it will take the credential from there. Okay. It will create a credential folder like this. You create a credential folder like this. Like this is the default. We didn't give any. If you give a profile name, it will put a profile name and add this, right? I'll show you how to do that. In which situation we will do that, right? So now, if you see, we have configured this. How do I check whether it is configured correctly or corrected? Go to AWS S3 and list buckets, right? If you list the bucket, if the bucket is there, it will list, otherwise it will throw an error. Okay. So this is how we can confirm that it is created. Now, when you configure, you can pass a parameter called profile. When you will do this, suppose I have 3 accounts, right? I have a dev account, I have a production account, I have a UAT account, right? I want to talk to those accounts using CLI, then we will create a profile, right? Called dev, right? When you do this, now see here, it's a new profile. It's asking for my secret key, access key of that account. You can add that. Then similarly, you can do all those things, right? For then, when you are trying to access that particular account, you have to pass the profile. Now I say S3 -- profile. You need to pass the profile every time. Profile. I don't know what is the right. Okay, I think I have this. Let's do profiling this one. I don't know which profile I have. I have to go and check quickly. If you don't pass any profile, it will take the default profile. Okay, I have this one, right? DC general is my profile. So assume that this is for a different account, right? This is the profile name. If I pass the profile name, I will see if any S3 is there. So this is how you can configure with the profile, without profile. Now, how do we use this one, right? So go to this documentation. So now I'm going to create resources from here itself, right? I'm going to create my resources from here itself. Let's go and check for VPC and see if we can create VPC. VPC will be in EC2 actually. Okay.
Excuse me, Chandra.
Yeah.
What is infrastructure as code? Like, is it the
infrastructure?
same?
Yeah. Infrastructure as code is now when we created an EC2, what did we do? We went to the console and we started clicking manually, correct? We selected the instance type and we launched the instance, correct? Instead of that, you write everything as a code. You write it as a code. So you have some tools for that. And you have tools like Terraform. Terraform is the infrastructure code tool. So it's written in HashiCorp language, HCL. Okay. And if you have Terraform as you have infrastructure as code, you don't have to rewrite the code every time. And every time you can use that when you run the code, the resource will be created for you automatically.
Okay.
So cloud native
Is it
AWS
covered
will
in
have
this? Is it covered in the course along with this?
no. That will come in the DevOps and stuff. That will not come in the AWS.
Even Dockers and Kubernetes, that
Everything
it's the
will
same.
come under DevOps only. That is, those all they are DevOps related, right? They are not AWS related.
Okay. Thank you.
And for the infrastructure as code, there is a service here. That's called CloudFormation. Okay, CloudFormation is a service which allows you to write infrastructure as code, but that can be used only for AWS. Terraform can be used for all the cloud.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Let's go and see if we can create a yeah. Let's see if we can create a VPC. Get into create VPC. Go to the example and you can find out how to create a VPC. Go down. There is an example. So you can say AWS create VPC. You just give the CIDR block. CIDR blocks are very, very important. Let's go here and see if we can create a EC2 from my command from VPC from our command line itself, right? So I can say my CIDR block and okay. So this is my code. This is my command line code to create my VPC. Let's go and try to set this using command line. AWS EC2 create VPC CIDR block. You have to pass the CIDR block, and once it is created, it will throw the JSON out saying it is created. See here, it has created the VPC for us. Now, if you go back to our console and check on the VPC, and you will be able to see that your VPC resource has been created. See here, we did just create now without the name. See here, say 80E55. See here, 80E55. Okay, so this is the command line. You can go through this documentation for all the services. You can create, you can delete, you can view, you can do whatever you want to do. You want to create an EC2, you can create an EC2 from here, but make sure you pass all those parameters correctly, right? That is very, very important. You can go and create your EC2 and you can create, it's called create instance. Okay, it's not create this one, you have to create instances. So you can go and create your instance. You can describe your existing instance, right? Let's go and say describe instance, right? and we already have an instance. So describe instances, right? Just go and see what are the instances that we have right now, and just go down. All these are all options you have, a lot of things. So why we are not doing everything through CLI? You will not remember if you're doing everything through CLI. Okay, just go try this and see. We already have one EC2, so let's see if we are having describe instances. See, yes, we are having one instance and it is giving you all the instances now. There are more here, that's why it is showing more. It's a very big file. You can see the instance ID, instance type, what did we do and everything, right? So this is how this one happens. This is on your command line. Okay. This is how you configure and you go and set up this. Now, in our local computer, we just need to install our CLI, add our credentials, and you should be able to gain access. Don't share your access key, secret key with anyone. Okay, so if that's the case, then they will be able to perform everything. Now, I have an EC2, right? I have an EC2, right? Fine. Now, what will happen if I want to do the same thing from EC2, right? You can go and do AWS configure there, but that's a bad idea because when you do an AWS configure, your credentials are stored in your local system. So if somebody tries to hack your public system, then they will be able to take your credentials. So the best way to do this is called using roles. Okay, let's go and see how to do this. So I'm going to use the same command to check there, right? Go to management console, select here this one, connect it, and do an easy to connect. Keep in mind, we cannot connect from local because we don't have the key, right? I did not create the key. Now go here and I can say right click and paste this command, right? And see what happens. It says you must specify a region. You can also configure your region by running AWS configure. Now I can do that. Whatever we have done already, I can do that, but that's not the right way to do. If you do that, your credential will be stored just like a plain text. So in order to mitigate this issue, we need to create a role and attach a role to this. That's called instance profile. So we need to create a role and attach it. So what we will do, we will go and delete this VPC that we created, and we will go and create an IAM. I'll show you how to create the role, and then we can attach that role. There are two ways you can attach the role. While you are creating the system itself, you can attach, or you can attach the role after creating the system also. So we will see in the both ways, right? So let's go to roles. Let's create a role. This will be consumed by an AWS service, yes, and this role is going to be used by EC2. There are a whole lot service here, but the common use cases is EC2 and Lambda. Click next. What this role is going to do? This role is going to try to access my EC2, right? So I say Amazon EC2 full access. Give a role name, say 0828 role. Okay, some name, right? 0828. Create a role. Once you create a role, go and view that role, what is exactly happening, right? So this is the permission that we have given. Okay, very important. The next one, trust relationship, right? Who can assume this role? EC2 can assume this role as STS assume role. STS stands for security token service. Okay. Now coming back to this one, coming back to our instance, what you can do, you can go back to the instance, select the instance, go to actions, security, and say modify IAM role. If you have already set, it will be there. At any point of time, you will only set one role. Okay, you can set only one role. 0828. This is the role that we created. That's called instance profile, and update this role. Now I have updated this role. Now you go back and run the same command. See what happens. You have to log in again. Okay, that's a session. So you need to terminate this and go to your system and log in again. I cannot log into this machine. I didn't set up the any key here. We should have set up the key. Okay, let's launch one more machine. Just give it a minute. Zero two zero one. Make sure you select, you allow all your access. And see here inside the advanced details, you can select your instance profile here itself, right? So we already created the role, so we will and launch this instance. Copy this, go back here and try to log in with your SSH. What happened? The key exchange is not happening. Okay, fine. Now you go and paste this command and see, you should be able to see. What happened? Again and again, the same thing is coming. Did we attach the role correctly? System, right? Okay. There are no buckets, so we are able to access the bucket but not the instance. It's a problem with that. Okay. Because we are inside that instance only. Okay, so it's a problem. Okay, fine. Now let's go and see if we can create a bucket and access it from here. S3. Then make bucket is creating a new bucket. Say S3 colon slash slash, give a bucket name, and it will start creating the bucket. So it has created a bucket, and you can go and check either from here or from your local. All will work fine. AWS S3 LS. Okay, it will work from here, from there, and you can also delete your bucket from here itself. Say AWS S3 RB is the remove bucket, and you have to give the URI like this. Okay, your bucket name. So only thing is make sure you need to let's remove the bucket now. So only thing, just make sure that you give the correct permissions and you have to attach the role if you are doing it for EC2. Okay. So you can configure and attach a role and you can do this. That's a bad way. So don't put your key there. So always do it through this one. The right way is to attach your role, and this is the best practice that we need to follow. There is something called instance metadata. Suppose if you wanted to take any details about that particular instance, then you need to use something called instance metadata. We already saw about user data. It's a long script using when we launched our EC2 machine. User metadata is nothing but you are getting the data about your EC2 machine. Use this URL. Note this will work only when you are inside the EC2 machine. Okay, it will not work outside. So let's take this, and we are inside this EC2 machine. And when you paste this, see what happens. You have to do a curl. Curl means you are accessing that. See, we have these all different things that we have. For example, I wanted to get the host name of this, right? I want to get the host name of this machine. Just say host name. See here, it prints out the host name. So the main use case for this is if you are writing any scripts, you can use this. You can curl this URL for a particular value of that instance and pass it to some other program. You can use that. Again, please be very careful. This will work only inside your this one. It will never work outside your this one. Let's try this to run from a local, right? See, it has failed to connect because this will be visible only inside your instance, not outside of your instance. So you can use when you're running some Python script or some shell script inside your EC2, you want to get the host name, pass it somewhere, then you can do all these things, right? So these are all the metadata information that you about that particular machine. So it is applicable for a machine. Okay, when you are running in this machine, it will give the host name of this machine. If you are running it in another machine, it will give the host name of another machine. Okay. Okay, this is on the metadata, right? And now let's talk about the SDK, right? So there are multiple ways that you can connect to your AWS. One is using console, which we have been seeing throughout, and the CLI we saw how to connect and how to write programmatically, how to create AWS resources and stuff, right? For that only we have this Python Boto 3. If you're using Python, you know Python, then it is a Boto 3, and you can go. So let's take some program and see if we can run and get something, right? So let's go back to our Python. If you guys are aware of Python or whatever language, you can go and check whatever you want, right? Let's say, let's go to this particular program, right, which will list all the users in IAM users. So this is the Python code, right? Very, very simple. Import Boto 3. Again, when you install your AWS CLI, okay, when you install your AWS CLI, sorry, version. When you install your AWS CLI, you will get Python and Boto core by default with that. If you don't get it, then you need to install the Boto core separately. And when you write your Python program, please go ahead and import that Boto 3. After you import, you can say this is a variable, some variable, can be any variable. We are saying boto3.session and pass the profile name. Okay, so what it will do, it is basically just like you connecting to your or logging into your console. After that, you have to navigate to IAM. So IAM console session.resource, go to IAM. Inside the IAM, okay, now this object will have all the objects of IAM. Now inside this IAM console, you have users.all is a function, right? So we are now printing this. For each user in IAM console.users.all, print each user.name. Okay, that's what we are doing. Let's see if we can run this guy, right? And check Python, go to 3. Python 3. IAM user custom sessions.py. Run this Python. Note Python should be there in your machine. Okay. So there are 5 languages that are supported. One is Python. We will just see the sample program for .NET, for Java, for Ruby, for Go, for C#, and all those things. We will select. See, I have only one user. If you go back to IAM and check, you will be able to see only one user. Go back to the user and see who is there. Only my name is there. So it has printed that particular name here using the programmatic way, right? Programmatically we have created. So instead of passing your credential directly into the program, what I have done, I have created a profile and I have passed it. So it is easy for me to, when I put this code in my GitHub, right? Nobody can use this unless they have this profile in their local. They cannot use this, right? But suppose if I pass the username and password, that will be visible and anybody can use my username and password in GitHub, and it is not advisable to commit your passwords into the GitHub. Okay, they will block your account. Okay, so this is what we have for your programmatic way. You can go back and check for all your other programs like sample Java program, right? Java program, Java sample Java S3 something, right? Go ahead and select this, and this is the Java example using Java SDK. If you are familiar with Java, then you can go. You will know what is the meaning here, right? They are importing something, and this is how you write it in Java. Similarly, you go back and you can check for, instead of AWS Java, you can say AWS.NET, right? .NET, you can go and say AWS S3.NET sample. You can go and get the .NET SDK, right? You can go and get the .NET SDK, go to IAM, and these are all the APIs. And you want to create a user using .NET. This is the way that you can create it in .NET. Similarly, if you want to see for other languages like Ruby or something, then you can do that, right? Ruby. See, this is the Ruby SDK. You can go download the SDK for Ruby and start writing. This is the program for this one, right? So like this, you can go and do for Ruby, go and do for Golang, .NET, Java. It supports all the language in SDK. So there are multiple ways that you can connect your AWS either through management console, CLI, or SDK. Okay. Any questions, guys, here before we wind up this one? You guys have anything? So we will be trying to complete by next 2 classes maximum. That will be the, already we are in the we are left with only 3 more topics. Okay, all 3 are important topics. So please make sure you are available, and also please download all the details that are there in our this one drive so that you don't miss anything. Okay. So make sure if you have created any EC2, please go ahead and delete those EC2. Okay, fine. Any other questions that you guys have? Anyone? So today we talked about CloudWatch, CloudTrail, and CloudConfig, and we also seen how to connect through CLI, how to connect through AWS SDK. So if you are a programmer, you can use any of those programming language to talk to your AWS. Okay, fine. Anything else, guys, before we drop any questions?
No, not Chandra.
Okay. Yeah. I'll go ahead and upload this. Yeah, I'll upload this video and materials, and once it is available, I'll ping in the WhatsApp. Please download all the details and have it with you, and please start working. And after the classes are over, the chances that we will meet every week is very remote. So please work on that. If you have any queries or any questions, please ping me in the WhatsApp. I'll try to help you. Okay.
Okay, Chandra.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chandra.